Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I have my update for my Pan Those Eyeshadows project. I am so excited. I am feeling pretty good about this round's update, so really excited to share this with you all. So I have my 5 palettes that were in stacked up here, and I'm going to go through each of these shades, but before I do that I just want to recap my rules. So the way I can roll a shade out is hit pan, use it 10 or more times, or have it in the project for 2 or more months. I will say that I just rolled all of these shades in last month, so they've all only been in for 1 month, but I do still have a rollout, so that is super exciting. So as always, I'm just going to go through these in the order that I rolled them in. So first up we have my IBY Boho palette, and I had the shade Gypsy Goddess. So Gypsy Goddess is this yellow matte shade in the corner. I really do enjoy that shade, but I only reached for it 2 times this past month for the 2 uses within this project. Like I said, this one has only been in for 1 month, along with the rest of these shades, so didn't get a ton of use. I don't think you'll have seen too much progress between last month and this month. I kind of had a feeling that this one would be one of my lower used shades, just because this isn't a palette I'm reaching for a ton. I do really enjoy some of the looks that I create with this palette, and it is fun to play around with, but it's just not really an everyday palette for me, which is totally fine. I'm still getting a couple uses on it, and this will be staying in for another month, so hopefully we'll have the opportunity to reach for it a little more. Next up we have my ColourPop Sweet as Can Be palette, and I had the shade Sing Ho. So Sing Ho is this one right here, and I do hope you'll be able to see there is a little bit of progress on the shade. I feel like when I first rolled this in, it looked fairly untouched, but now there is a little disturbance in the pan there. I did only reach for this one 3 times, but I am pretty happy with that. I am not using the shade on a daily basis, but it was fun to incorporate into a few different looks. I feel like when I reach for the shade, the look kind of turns out the same each time, but it is a really pretty shade, and it does allow me to reach for some pretty green shades, which I do love. So this one is super nice. It wasn't one I had reached for a ton before rolling it into this project, so I am really happy that it did get rolled in, and hopefully within the next month I can get a little bit more use on it. Next up we have my Rude Cosmetics Roaring Twenties Neons palette, and I had the shade Featured. So Featured is this dark purple shimmer shade up in the corner. I absolutely loved the looks that I created with this shade over this past month. I think this shade definitely had some of my favorite looks. There is a little bit more wear in the pan in this shade as well. I did only reach for it 3 times, but I am hoping to get a few more uses on it next month as well, and I am pretty happy with 3 uses. Quite honestly, I feel like I am not the type of person to focus in on a shade too much, especially some of these more colorful shades. They're just not what I'm reaching for on a daily basis, so I am quite happy with 3 uses. The shade isn't my absolute favorite. I feel like it takes a lot to build it up, but once it does get built up, it does look really pretty, so can't complain about it too much, but I do wish it had a little bit more pigmentation to start. Next up we have my Rude Cosmetics Roaring Twenties Indulgence palette, and from this one I had the shade Zoot Suit. So that is this white sort of shimmer shade right there. I think there is a little bit more use on this shade that you can see. I did reach for this one 5 times this month, which I am super happy about. I feel like I don't usually reach for shades 5+ times, but I feel like I did really good this month on a couple of shades, and I'm really happy with that number and with that usage. Alright, then the final shade that I had in was from my BH Cosmetics Miss Claus So Spoiled palette, and it is the shade Spice Girl. So Spice Girl is this matte brown shade up here, and speaking of shades I have used a bit this month. I did reach for this one 10 times, so this one did hit that goal and will be rolling out, which I'm super excited about. This one was just super nice and easy to use for everyday looks. I definitely enjoy having a more neutral shade in for that purpose. This was a super easy, just outer corner blending shade, transition shade, so I really enjoyed that, and I feel like it allowed me to create a base for different looks, whether they were more neutral looks or more colorful looks. I feel like I ended up reaching for blues quite a bit this month with this shade, especially this bottom row here. I really enjoyed incorporating in with the neutrals, so this one was so much fun to have in, and I am so excited with the progress I have on it. I feel like you could see in the progress pictures that I wore away quite a bit of the little snowflake imprint that was in there. It's not totally gone yet, which I really would have loved, but it is definitely worn down quite a bit, and I'm so happy that you can at least see that sort of progress on this shade. So those were the 5 shades in for my Pan Those Eyeshadows project, and one is rolling out, but before we get into rolling in a new shade, I do want to talk about my Expand the Pan project as well. So for those of you who don't know, my Expand the Pan project is where I roll in a shade that already has pan from my collection, and my goal is to use that one 5 times. This last round came from my ColourPop Midnight Masquerade palette, and it was the shade Spinning Wheel. So Spinning Wheel is this inner corner white shimmer shade up there. I feel like there's not going to be too much difference from when I rolled it in to now, because I feel like I was focusing along the outer edges of this, so I wasn't really attacking where the pan is to expand that too much, even though that is the name of this project. I was kind of focusing around the edges, so kind of wearing it down that way, but I did reach for this one the 5 times, so this one will be rolling out as well. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this palette because I actually rolled this into my Project Level Up project. It was my first update, or my introduction to that project. So if you want to see more about this palette, be sure to go ahead and check out that video and follow along with that project. Alright, so now we can roll in some new shades. I'm going to be rolling in one for Pan Those Eyeshadows and then one for Expand the Pan. So I have my Pretty Random app set from 1 to 1012, and we will just roll a shade in. So 990 does come from my Rude Cosmetics Roaring Twenties Indulgence palette, and since that palette is already in, I am going to re-roll. I forgot to mention, I am going to re-roll if I get a shade that has pan on it, has already been in this project, or is in a palette that is currently in or just rolled out. I just like to have a little bit more variety within my palettes. So 139 comes from my Shared Planet Tiger palette, and it is the shade Lush. That is going to look similar to one of the shades I have in, but I am excited to reach for that palette, so I think I will be rolling that one in. And then for my Expand the Pan shade, I have my Pretty Random app set from 1 to 58. Get 57. So that is my Huda Beauty Nude Light palette, and it is the second shade in that palette, so I'm going to go grab both of those and be right back. Alright, so first we rolled in my Shared Planet Tiger palette, and We rolled in the shade Lush, which is this one over here. So just for comparison purposes, here is Sing Ho compared to that one. So they are a little different, but for the most part they are pretty similar. But I think since this one has already been in for 1 month, I am going to roll this one in just because I have a feeling this will roll out at the 2-month mark. And I do really want to reach for this palette and hopefully show a little progress. These shades are pretty hard pressed, so probably not going to show too much progress, but this is one I am excited to work on. Alright, then for Expand the Pan, I'm going to roll in my Huda Beauty Nude Light Palette. And we got the second shade, which I actually just hit pan on this one earlier this year, so I feel like I have already done quite a bit of focusing on this shade, but it is really pretty and it's a cute little purple shade, so I have the goal to use this one another 5 times and expand that pan, which I think will be good for this one. It is a just small little sliver of a pan, so hopefully I can make that look a little bigger. Alright, so these are the 5 palettes that are now in for Pan Those Eyeshadows. Not too much of a refresh, but we did get 1 new shade, which I am happy about. And I am excited to focus a little bit more on the shades that are staying in as well, because I was really excited when I rolled those ones in. So I will insert a picture of the color story for you all to see. I feel like we have a little bit of an interesting color story. We had one last month as well, and now we're just adding in another green shade. So let me know what you guys thought of this video, what you think of these shades. Give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future uploads. And with all of that said, I will see you in my next video. Bye!